Sure. It's your time. You use it how you see fit. Papers, make sure your names are on them. I will collect them. They should be. We've had them for 2 weeks. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can review with it. So, this is your time. You express what you think you may need to go over, would like to go over, or feel what you need to do for the next 2 days. Yes. No, they're broken up into two sections. We do have that would be a good idea. Yep. There's a lot. I get that. And general questions about the digestive system. Friday is short answer or essays and diagrams. Diagrams we went over yesterday, and I believe it's page 662 and 668 were the two main. Yes, we do. Well, but I need a little more specificity than just review what's on the test. Okay. Hmm. Well, the vocabulary term should be self-sufficient. That, if it was on your vocab quiz, well then chances are that's something that you'd possibly need to know for your exam tomorrow. Now, to me, probably when it comes to any evaluation, chemistry and physical science can be a little different because it's problem solving, but when it comes to zoology and this class and biology, a lot of the bulk, whether your level of understanding, comes from the essay portion and diagrams. So with that, we went over, we didn't go over, we just pointed you in the right direction on what we would want you to know for Friday. Do we remember what those were? You have them wrote down? That's probably a good idea. Yes. They were up on the board yesterday. That's one. Yep, that was the bottom one. Yep. Uh-huh. One was the liver. Let me just double check. I believe it was the source for what the pancreas does. Let me just double check. And then, how is gastric motility controlled? Okay, so we can go over them if you want, or as I stated earlier, this time's yours. You ask what you want. Cholestockinin, yes. Yes. fine. I'm not supposed to have students on camera, so I got pointed down for that reason. What about it? That is the hormone that does what? That is correct, yes. Okay? Ducks. Yep. There are 5 of them, yes. Okay? So again, I'm up here to help point you in the right direction. But you ask me, what do you think, or you tell me, what do you think you need work on? Okay? Well, we did. Yesterday. Okay? Okay. So I believe it said something like this yesterday. So maybe it would say something like, first of all, what is gastric motility? And then, how's it controlled inside the stomach? Okay? Controls when we say motility, we're talking about this right here. Okay? The reason we say pH is we're referring to the acidic conditions inside the stomach. That's what, yes. That's fine. That's fine. The CNS controls the pH or the acidity or how much acid, any one of those terms occurs inside the stomach. So, how does it do that? If we need more acid, in other words, we say turn the spigot on, the central nervous system sends this hormone or activates gastrin. Okay? So what happens, okay? By the hormone gastrin. Okay? So what gastrin. Okay? So once the central nervous system, okay, we need more acid, control the acidity or gastric motility, any one of those terms is fine. Okay? So it tells the parietal cells we need more acid in our stomach. So the hormone gastrin, just like you turn on a spigot on a hose, increases, okay? Controls the pH by lowering it because that's more acidic. You don't need to say that. Okay? We're just saying controls the pH, okay? So now we're going to have acidic conditions inside the stomach, okay? So once the brain determines, okay, we've got enough acid in our stomach, we need to slow this down. And that happens by what? The one that's hard to say. That's right. Okay? I always use the same terminology when I'm explaining that. Like if the answer is CUBA and you put JAMICA, it's wrong. Makes sense, don't it? So with that, what we're getting at is you just come close. Okay. Now, down the line, you're going to have to be more specific in college, perhaps. But chances are these terms are probably written somewhere, perhaps on your exam on the first day. Okay. So once we'll just say CNS, that's the best way of looking at it, okay? Okay, so once it senses senses their needs to be less acid, the hormone cholestogenin, okay, is I shouldn't say that. Cholestogenin, okay, decreases the release of acid. Okay, so gastrin turns it on, cholestogenin shuts it off. Okay. I take attendance. I'm gonna get that done. That's correct. Yes. Okay, so maybe it seems short, but and yeah, maybe so. But you got to have these key terms in there. These, okay, and of course this and that, because that's the bulk of what we're talking about, the two hormones and what they do. Okay. And diagrams. Yes. I believe page 662 and 668. Yes. All right. Can we erase this? And remember, you're always free to go back to the Science Channel and read this should you have missed something to that effect. Okay. All right. So then next, we would want to move forward with yeah, we can do this, something along these lines. Okay. So even if we didn't go on any further than this, what do you think you need to include? This is the big one, because we've probably, and I want to say, I think it's fairly accurate, we've probably started 3 or 4 days in class saying, okay, how does this mechanism work? So it's when we go over that over and over, we do that for a reason. Okay? So what do you think you need to include here? Because there's two different types of cells that you want to mention, and what they release and why. That's one. Parietal cells. That's right. That is correct. Yep. Chief cells is pepsinogen. Okay? Yep, yep. Okay. So, what we see happening is, okay, so as we can see, we've got chicken teriyaki, and anything chicken, pork, beef is going to have what inside of it? Proteins. How are we going to break those proteins down? So, what we see happening is once, again, any one of these products, once protein products enter the stomach, something's going to happen, and that is what? Pick a cell. Okay, so chief cells what are they releasing? Pepsinogen, because we'll secrete the, now what's significant about that pepsinogen? It's inactive or deactivated, okay? Yeah, that's right. But is inactive, okay? So something else takes place then as well. The parietal cells release, secrete, whatever. You can just say acid. We don't need to say HCl. You can if you want, because that's the only type of acid we're concerned about inside the stomach. So we see these parietal cells secrete acid and something, yes? Oh, G cells secrete the pepsinogen. All right. But is inactive. Okay? Okay? So a transformation is going to take place. Well, in an indirect manner, you are correct, but we do want to say it. That would be fine, but how do you suppose we could state that just a little bit? Okay, so then a chemical reaction takes place. In other words, this does something to that. Yes, a chemical reaction takes place. The acid activates the pepsinogen to pepsin. Okay. But one thing that we want, some of these questions, they do overlap a little bit. There's something very important that we want to mention. This continues, okay? Okay, this continues until this hormone again, okay? Something very specific. You're right, it shuts off what? The parietal cells, okay? Because when we want to get the most we can out of any type of protein product, it starts in the stomach, but it has to be absorbed. That absorption takes place where? Not the stomach, the small intestine. So without this hormone then, or if it's not functioning correctly, what can happen once this enters the duodenum or the small intestine? You could get holes in your intestine. Yes, you could eat its way through. So this continues until cholestockinin again decreases acid production before entering what? Okay, or small intestine. Either one, I'm okay with. Either one's fine. Okay. Okay. This, of course, is still going to be available should you want to go back and reread this material. Okay. Can we erase this? Okay. And then what was when that young lady had her surgery that that we saw on there was a 6-organ transplant, and of course all these different organs are going to have their very specific functions, but probably and I believe they even said in the video, yes, the brain ranks number 1, but this organ or gland, they said, ranks behind the heart and the lungs or diaphragm, and yes, that would be the liver. Okay, so when we look at that, okay, we want to know what are yes. Okay. So, what do you think? We already know it's going to be a specific type of metabolism. What type of metabolism? What have we talked about the most in this chapter for breaking down materials? We just got done with it. But what is? You're right. But what does that break down? No. You're all saying components of what breaks down this food substance. We said beef products, pork products, chicken products, proteins, right? So the liver is important for protein metabolism, okay? So what are the functions of the liver? Well, protein metabolism, okay? It's produced there, you could say, Produces bile. That's right. Because this does something very specific. Breaks down what? Oh, not starch. That's amylase. There you go. Breakdown of fats. Okay? Or fatty acids, whichever you feel more comfortable with, is fine. Okay? Yes. We don't need to say that though. But yes, you are reconfirming the knowledge. Yes, that is correct. Okay? There is something we want to say about sugar metabolism, though. It's not glucose, but the larger forms of glucose that starts with a G. Glycogen, right. So it stores glycogen and vitamins. Right. But it's a hormone that causes that breakdown, but it's stored in the liver. Okay, it's glucagon and insulin are the two types of hormones that cause this. So when we say we want to lower the blood sugar levels, we do that by converting glucose to glycogen that's stored in the liver, and it's glucagon that causes that. Well, we don't need to do that right now. That's it does. Just the opposite, right? Yep. Okay, and then probably a couple more aspects that we want to know is, okay, it breaks down some, not hydrochloric acid, it breaks something down to what sounds like urine. That's the end product, but where's that urea coming from? You're right. Okay, breaks down uric acid. Okay, I heard someone talking about coffee earlier. I'm out. You like coffee? Okay. Okay. Well, see, I had misunderstood. I thought this was a documentary movie called Farmer of the Year, but it's an actual, probably low budget movie. But the farmer that's portrayed in there says, well, the stronger the better when it comes to the coffee. Yeah, see? Good stuff. Coffee should be its own food group. Well, it used to be, not so much anymore, because now I probably get here enough in time to make the coffee before someone else does, and depending upon how much you want to make, if you're making a full pot of coffee, you got to put more than 2 scoops of whatever it is in there. Because otherwise, if you can look through and see the bottom of the coffee pot, or see through it, just like what you said, that's bad. Correct. Right. That's what I'm getting at. Okay. And then finally, with what we're just talking about, that coffee, can we use coffee? Can our body use coffee? Or the caffeine in the coffee, sorry. We can't. But what we do is parts of the caffeine can be utilized because it's used as a stimulant in your brain, we all know. But what the liver does is it detoxifies the amounts in there so it doesn't become at a high level. So what we want to say, whether it's caffeine from coffee or ideally for people who are 21 years and older, it's the alcohol inside the blood that then the liver also detoxifies. So that's what we want to say, if the liver detoxifies the blood from caffeine or alcohol is what? I believe that to be true, yes. And to a certain extent, that can be bad should you have some form of trauma. Your body's going to have to work that much harder to try to clot that. A whole other series of aspects of proteins you could discuss is fibrin's a protein that probably is metabolized in the liver. Fibrin, thrombin, fibrinogen. All those are different types of proteins that are metabolized in the liver, but we're not too concerned about that in this aspect. Okay? So we got these three. Okay? So, again, that's for Friday. So, yes? Okay. There's probably something to that, just like what you said is alcohol a blood thinning agent. Yes, it is. So that's why I said that could be bad because then your body's going to have to work that much harder to get that blood clotted. Then problems can set in from that. And it's believed that a new study was done that taking an aspirin a day may not be the best course of action. Now, all the rhymes and reasons for that, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. That's just one of these segments I believe I'd seen on the national news that was reported on. Maybe it was the show Sunday morning, one of those aspects. So your grandparents may take an aspirin a day. It could be such a thing that doctors may be starting to shy away from that. Because yes, it's a blood thinning agent, so that would prevent heart attacks. So there was some logic behind that at one time. And maybe there still is. Again, I'm not going to say anything one way or another because I'm not a doctor. Okay, this is important stuff that we just went over. Okay, so keep in mind like what teeth do. Again, there's two types of digestion, mechanical and chemical. There are different functions of teeth. Okay, what are some secondary organs of the digestive tract? What are some primary organs? Keep that in mind. What does the pancreas do? It creates amylase and lipase. Okay, that's correct. So all of these are, but like I said, these are where, what to me I like to say, swings the big stick. Okay, in other words, it's kind of like on a coaching staff. The assistant coaches kind of maybe put their input in, but who makes the final decision? The head coach does. So it's kind of like, this is kind of like swings the big stick. This is the head coach talking here. So, yes? No, digestion, mechanical and chemical. Okay? So, are there different types of teeth throughout your life cycle? What are they? Primary and secondary, you bet. So if you read through a lot of what we've been talking about, you're probably going to be just fine, okay? And just keep in mind, that's going to be one of the aspects that once you do this in college, okay? I can't remember what class, maybe we talked about it in here. Took a couple summers ago. It was a 370 biology class through SDSU. Like in this chapter, we did, I want to say 40 slides. And it's been, what, 4 weeks? So for this class, I still have the slide presentations for that. About 100 and maybe 120 slides in 2 or 3 days. Okay? My point is, when you get to college, it's going to be zoom. You can attest to that for the history class you took. There's a lot of information in a short amount of time. So it's one of those things, we do this for a specific reason because we want you to be successful. It's not one of those aspects, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, let's see what I can do to make their lives miserable. Okay, just for argument's sake, why might that be though, if that was the case? One of the things I want you to think about is, and this is more so probably for underclassmen, because you're all upperclassmen now. I tell this to underclassmen all the time. Just think of how easy high school could be if you just walk in the classroom and you do what your instructor tells you to do. Wouldn't that make things pretty easy? I mean, how many of you have a job? So when you show up for work and the boss tells you to do something, what do? You do it, right? I mean, I'm not saying that's common sense, but that's just the best thing that you can do for yourself, okay? Yes? Molars. Those are secondary teeth. They're molars. Yep. Okay. So, all right, so this is by choice. You don't have to do this. I haven't done it yet. Do these, don't do these. That's entirely up to you. If you want, it's worth 2 points. You don't, again, this is optional. So then this blank is what you'd put in there. Okay, so let's say, for instance, in football, like Monday night, you had the Seahawks, that ends in S. You had the Bears, that ends in S. Maybe you like the Vikings, that ends in S. Maybe baseball. It can be, there's college, it's either college or professional, yes. Okay, so maybe it's baseball. The Twins, they just played the Tigers. See, all those mascots, they end in the letter S. Okay? Just maybe to kind of help you out, I can think of like one NCAA team. Oops. I can think of 2 MLB teams. And I can think of one NBA team. Okay, so again, like their second name, like Minnesota Twins, Minnesota Vikings, their mascot ends in S. So either some from the college ranks or baseball ranks or the basketball ranks, a mascot that does not end in the letter S. Okay? Bonus 2 then. Okay. Okay, so there's something specific about the drummer for Def Leppard. You could say it doesn't affect him. He's got a disability. What might that be? Then the X, we say that marks the spot because that is, and if you forget, it's one of those things to where, oh gosh, I forgot. Mr. Husby, could you sign this? Mr. Hemmer, could you please sign this? Ms. Doctor, could you please sign this? That would get 1 more point, not 2. No. Nope. Parents is 2. The teachers? No. 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 Now, this is another one of them aspects to where it's pretty easy to keep track of these throughout the course of the semester, and then when we get to the end, and let's say you're looking up at that grading scale and your grade is 81.7, okay? So you, as an individual, may have chose not to take advantage of these, okay? So then you're making it pretty easy for myself to say, well, if you're not going to take advantage of these opportunities, do you deserve to move forward? That's just part of it. You come in here, you do what you're told. You do what we want you to do. That's another aspect. Again, if you just come in with a positive attitude, that will take you more than anything we can ever teach you. As a positive attitude is the best thing that you can have. Are bad things going to happen? Yes, that's going to happen. But we don't want that to be such a deterrent that it just ruins, it may ruin your day, but don't make it worse for everybody else, okay? Just remember, bad days are kind of like blizzards. Yeah, they cycle around for maybe a day or two, but once that's done, the blizzard moves on, okay? Bad times only last for as long as you let them. I sometimes, that's just my belief. Hey, we'll start with this tomorrow, or exam tomorrow.